All right. Welcome to Indie Corner After Dark. We're not only talking about all things independent comics, but everything comics. I'm Mikey.
I'm Seamus.
And today, people, we're back at again another episode of the Indie Corner After Dark, episode number 36. And yes, we got another review for you. Another review, Seamus. Again, we've been pumping out mostly reviews lately, So, but obviously, what's up?
There's a lot of shit coming out. Like
too much. Too much. Yeah.
There's a lot. I'm not mad, honestly, with what we've been getting for the most part. I'm not mad with all this shit, but it is a lot.
But yeah, people, if you haven't checked from the title of the video or the thumbnail, we're gonna be reviewing the second, not the first, second MCU film of 2025, being none other than Thunderbolts with the asterisks. Yeah, people, it's gonna be a good time. It's good cast. The director, I'm surprised I didn't really I looked into it later on after I watched the movie. I was like, he directed this? This makes sense. But yeah, we'll get into it. But thanks again, Seamus, for joining me on this late occasion. Apologize for the folks who have been waiting for this review for a little bit because there were some technical difficulties last night. And I think we planned to do it on Monday or Tuesday. No, on Wednesday. And then I just didn't work out either. So
yeah, we had it was scheduling, and then the internet was down, and then much like this team, everything that could have went wrong did go wrong.
Went wrong. Yeah,
we still made it.
We still made it. We're still here, Seamus. We're still here. But yeah, so let's get right into it, bro. Let's get right into it. So, real quick, I just wanted to get what were your first impressions going into the movie? What were your thoughts? I know we've been talking about this thing for a while now. We've been covering,
I think there's footage of my first impressions, which was very bad, because when you come to me and you show me that team and you're like, yeah, Thunderbolts, of course I'm going to be mad, because taking into consideration the quality of Marvel movies up to that point, and who the Thunderbolts were, and everything that was going on, when you come to me with that cast right after, because that cast was out the same time as RDJ Doom was announced in that Comic-Con panel from last year, and that was just a cacophony of bad fucking announcements for me, because I was just not having a good time with that at all. So I was not optimistic going into this at all, and I said even a few times in a couple of the other things, a couple of the other episodes we've done, that if this and Fantastic Four were the same quality as previous Marvel movies, like Marvels or Quantumania, I'm done. And so I was definitely not optimistic going into this. I was open to be proven wrong. I was definitely down, and I was like, please, I hope I am very wrong about this, but it's not looking good. So that's what I was like going into this. I was very, very negative.
I was gonna say there's a dedicated clip on this channel where you can see Seamus go off about our thoughts on this movie, because we both agreed we weren't feeling the roster at all. We were nah. There were a few that there were one or two people that I was like, okay, that makes sense. I'm happy that they're in this, but then the rest of them, I was like, nah. Especially because we felt baited, especially through some of the other appearances from characters that haven't been in Marvel in a while come back, who would make sense for the Thunderbolts, like Abomination, for example. That weren't on this roster, because most of this roster contains of 3 Captain America knockoffs, a girl that can shoot good, a girl that can phase, that's cool, and a Taskmaster that can just copy everyone else's moves. So no crazy heavy hitters, no no actual team members that actually have different functions or purposes. It was just a bunch of copycats, pretty much. And it was how is this? And just when we knew who the villain was, we're how is this is not gonna make it? There's no way in hell they're gonna be they're gonna take on the one of the villains of this movie. But myself, even though I went into this with really low expectations, I was open-minded, which is me mostly when it comes to movies these days. I try to get into it with open mind, and I like to be proven wrong, so.
Yeah, that's how we are with like anything on this channel. Like, even if we do bitch and talk shit about stuff, we're like, I hope I am wrong, and I hope this is like the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. You know, because I don't want shit to be bad, but like when you give me Quantumania and the Marvels and Captain America: Brave New World back to back, like what am I supposed to think? Am I supposed to think this one's actually going to be good, or am I supposed to come into it going, this one's probably going to be not good? You know?
Yeah, but yeah, well, again, we watched it, and you know, we'll get into that. And just for the people that just are joining us, while we're doing non-spoilers real quick, and then we're gonna go into spoilers because it's an MCU movie. You had plenty of time within like the last week to watch it, so you know.
I like Marvel Studios didn't even give you a week for spoilers.
They didn't.
They started changing the marketing immediately,
which means we have permission from the establishment.
Exactly.
So yeah, we'll just move on then. So Seamus, now that we've watched the movie, right? I'm gonna ask what you think. What are your overall thoughts? And just real quick, I also want to say something real quick because when I was doing I was looking at the movie after I finished it, because I wasn't familiar with the director. It was named Jake Schreier, and because like when I was watching the movie, I was like, because again the movie pretty much does. Like this movie is pretty much just about like depression and like the concept of like loneliness and you know guilt, pretty sad topics. So I looked into the director, Drake Schreier, and I didn't know that he directed episodes of Beef, which was on Netflix, which is the Emmy winning series that came out I think almost 2 years ago now. That was like 2023.
Yep.
And as well as one of the writers on this as well, Joanna Kahlo, she also wrote episodes of Beef as well as The Bear. So after I watched the movie, I was like, yeah, this makes sense why they were able to why these themes were discussed throughout the course of the movie and why they were told so well. So
yeah, and like it was even in the it was even in the marketing. Like they were marketing the entire cast as like all the stuff they'd done. Like they were like, oh look, we got Son Lux to do the soundtrack. We got Andrew Draws Palermo, who did the cinematography for Green Knight and a couple other A24 movies.
I saw that
cinematography.
They did,
you know
right?
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like they were marketing this as like, hey guys, we actually got like filmmakers on this one instead of just like for hire hands.
Right.
That we can then like, because since really since like the MCU started, they've either been like TV directors that are doing their first big budget movie, or they're doing for hire directors that decide they want to try out a Marvel movie, and then Marvel immediately like silences all their creative input,
creative
and then
ability.
uses their name. You know what I mean? So like that's why even beforehand, them listing this crew and their accomplishments, I was still skeptical because I was like, you had Nia DaCosta direct a movie and that turned out very bad, which it's kind of a director that usually has a very unique voice that is not present in the Marvels at all. So like, so it's like shit like that like I had every reason to be skeptical and not trust this movie. So like, I mean, can we go into like what we thought about it a little?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, so now we watched it, Seamus. So what did you think of Thunderbolts? Try to non-spoiler. We'll do that.
Yeah,
first,
not spoiler. I think it is the best. It is the best Marvel movie. It still has. I think that it has the best writing. It has some of the most solid character work. It has very, very solid cinematography. There's still some issues there, I think, from it just being very green screen heavy and difficulties with shooting that. But I think if you want to look at this from like a pure filmmaking point of view, yeah, it's like the best Marvel movie. Like maybe Winter Soldier's close in terms of filmmaking, but like as a whole, like I think it was just very solid. It definitely made me care about these characters in a way that made me want to see more of them, which I don't think a lot of Marvel movies do in a very solid way. They kind of just give you what you want and then go, well, that's it. You're gonna get them in like 5 years, and you're kind of okay with that. You know, like you're kind of okay with like not seeing Shang-Chi for like 5 years and being like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
But like these characters, I instantly was like, damn, I instantly want to see what's next for them. You know what I mean? Which I think is something that you don't really say a lot with other Marvel projects that they have been releasing lately.
I had the same feeling too. Like I was like, oh, like I'm actually curious to see where their arc goes next in the MCU. Like I was genuinely like, oh, like, you know, I haven't felt that in a while when it comes to these movies.
Yeah. And it wasn't even due to that ending twist. Like that ending twist was just like the little cherry on top. And it wasn't like, oh, I want to see where this goes next because it's the MCU and the story's going to keep going. And, you know, I mean, this is setting up another movie or whatever. It was more of just like oh, this is setting up another movie that I would like to watch because these characters are going to be guaranteed to be in it. You know what I mean? And I like these characters. And that for me is the big win of this movie is making me like this team that I was very down on and making me want to see more of them as a team. Yeah. And I think that is the best strength of this movie, and it is the focus of this movie. And I think that's why it succeeds so well in that aspect. There's some issues with like the third act pacing and like other stuff that like, you know what I mean? Like I do have issues with it, but like I appreciate it far more than other Marvel movies that I might have rated higher, because those other Marvel movies were operating purely off hype moments and aura. You know what I mean? And it very rarely do you get a Marvel movie with actually solid writing that isn't just like we'll just throw a little here, throw a little there, do a little, you know, here's a little comedy, here's a little, oh, you're gonna cry over it. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of everything, and you're like, This was like very solidly like, no, we have something we want to talk about. We have characters who can explore that topic, and we can do this in a way that makes sense for these characters and the world they live in. And it's like, cool. That's like all we've been asking for like 8 years at this point, you know? Like all we've been asking for is like, hey, can you give us like a good one? Can you give us one that makes me want to care about someone in this? Because like as good as these movies that have come out since, they've been legacy sequels. Like the best ones, Black Panther 2, Guardians Volume 3, they kind of feel more like the ending of like those kind of arcs and characters and worlds. You know what I mean? And it's like, cool, what are you building up next? You know what I mean? Because like I know Shuri's story, whatever, was built up in Black Panther 2, but that never felt like it was supposed to continue afterward. It felt more of just like an epilogue to the exploration of grief in the wake of Chadwick Boseman's death. You know what I mean? It never felt like, wow, we're setting up Shuri as the next, you know. Yeah. It just felt more like an ending that I felt like I was comfortable never touching again because of Chadwick Boseman dying, you know? And I was like, cool. That was a great epilogue. And Guardians, that's it. That was another one where it's like, that's a great epilogue. I don't need any more from those people. I would like to see something new. And I think this movie gave me something new that I thoroughly want to see. And I think that's why it's such a success despite its flaws. And that's why it's the first score for me. 1 out of 2 so far we got.
1 out of 2. All right.
I'm considering it good. I'm considering it good enough that if Fantastic Four is good, I'm gonna have to fucking buy a ticket to Doomsday, which I'm really scared about. But
well, for me, I thought this movie was surprisingly quite good. Like genuinely, like because I really love. Like again, pretty much what you said, the characters, like the way they dissected these characters again, with focusing on these concepts of like grief, the depression, guilt. I loved how each character had their own little arc or moment pertaining to that theme. That's what I thought. I thought the character work was really good, and it again really wanted me to see more of this camaraderie in this team in the future of the MCU. We'll talk about that, like in terms of what we're gonna expect with this team, but I thought the directing was from Schreier was solid, even though the third act was a little wonky and felt a little bit quick, felt a little rushed, but That's neither here or there. I thought the cinematography was okay as well, because aesthetically it didn't really and again plot wise, because the story is pretty well written. I was like, it didn't feel like a typical cookie cutter Marvel film. It didn't feel like Captain America 4, which is like, again, a butchered movie. But it felt a lot more cohesive. And again, a lot more self-contained. Like I didn't really feel like they were hamming in the connectivity of the MCU, and especially only towards like, the end. I get what, like these, I feel like a very like self-contained story, which I really appreciated a lot. I thought the action was quite good. Kudos to the coordinators. Like it did not feel half-assed at all. And especially there was a lot of creative stuff that they put in with a lot of the shots and with the choreography. So I thought that was pretty good. And yeah, man, it's just, this movie was solid. Like for me, it was like, a lot of people posing the question, is the MCU back? Is the MCU back? Are we back? Can we have faith in what's going on? For me personally, I'm not gonna say we're back yet until I see Fantastic Four. I think we can agree on that. But I do think that Thunderbolts asterisk, because it has that dumb asterisk there, which again they did explain, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But I think this is a good step in the right direction, in my opinion.
Yeah. I was gonna say because you bring up the MCU's back question, and I think that people kind of miss the wording of that question is kind of misattributing what people are looking for, because it connects back to my earlier point about Guardians Volume 3 and Black Panther 2 and those movies, that it's less is the MCU back and more can I look forward to the MCU? You know what I mean? Because Black Panther 2 and Guardians Volume 3 were great movies, but they weren't really stuff that allowed me to look forward to seeing more of it, because they were endings, and they were great endings. Yeah. They were deserved endings. But I think that's why those movies kind of get ignored when people go, is the MCU back? Because those were two movies that were so focused on finishing the arc from the past saga that they were more like epilogues. Whereas all of the stuff that we've gotten that's supposed to be new stuff is kind of like shit. Even, you know what I mean? Even Spider-Man No Way Home, again, another epilogue that's more of celebrating the last 20 years of Spider-Man and kind of giving you a ending with a soft reboot tease at the end. Mm-hmm. We're not really getting the new version of that until next year with Brand New Day. You know what I mean? So I think that the MCU is back now. I can say it safely because I'm at least hopeful to see something in the future that I'm looking forward to. You know what I mean? Which is this team. So I would hazard to say the MCU is back for now. I don't know if it can stay back by when Doomsday comes out, because Doomsday is going to be the real make or break movie for me. Because if Doomsday is it is for a lot of people. If Doomsday is if Doomsday is just a shitty Avengers vs X-Men movie, I'm tapping out. I can't do it, because as soon as I get shitty Avengers vs X-Men and then RDJ Doom shows up at the end, I'm gonna be like, great, I'm done. Let's see what DC's doing with that Clayface movie.
You're gonna be knocking at James Gunn's door, being like, "What's next?"
They're gonna give me. They're promising me an Avengers movie with everyone in it, and I'm earnestly more excited for that Swamp Thing movie they announced.
That's so funny. Oh man.
If you look at me and you're like, yo, Mike Flanagan's doing Clayface, I'm in. But if you look at me and you go, RDJ Doom's going to be heading Secret Wars with the Russos coming back, I'm like, I'm killing myself. I'm not doing that.
Oh, man.
So non-spoiler thoughts, overall, good, some flaws. Will definitely probably give you hope in seeing future stuff from the MCU.
Yeah, I can agree.
I would recommend it. I would recommend a watch.
Yeah, same here. I feel like, there are people who watch this movie more than once. I feel like that says something, about the film.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I overall think I think it's quite good. Good step in the right direction. And like what Seamus said, there are issues with the film that I'll point out, in the rest of the review. But I thought I enjoyed it. And again, it's what I was hoping for with one of my issues with the MCU is especially for instance with Thor: Love and Thunder, did too much of the comedy to the point where it was to the point where it like ignored it like ruined the story. For me, like, well, this movie was a good balance. It was a good balance of comedy, a good balance of drama, and like, you know, emotional moments. Like I thought it was a good balance of all that stuff. So yeah, I really enjoyed this film. But yeah, so I guess we'll get into spoilers. So for people who are joining us, if you have not watched Thunderbolts yet, again, you know, what are you doing? Stop watching this, get your ticket, watch it tomorrow, then come back and watch this and the rest of the review. But all right, so we are going to be going into spoilers in 3, 2, 1. All right, so we're in spoiler territory now. So, all right, so Seamus. So in order for this review, I figured we're not gonna go into the whole like what we don't like, what we didn't like. We'll just go straight into characters because I feel like, you know, we'll be able to pick more out of that stuff just talking characters. All right, so people, we're going to the character breakdown, and we'll start off again. Make it easier. There's gonna be 2 characters on each slide. But to start off, we're gonna be talking about this is from order from what, you know, characters from what I liked, and then they'll go on to like, you know, like important to like least important, I guess we'll say. But so we're gonna talk about first Yelena Belova and John Walker, aka U.S. Agent, played by Florence Pugh and Wyatt Russell. We'll talk about Yelena first. I loved Yelena in this movie. I thought she was the best written character out of them all. She was the emotional core of the story, along with another character that we'll talk about later. Yeah, I thought her performance was fantastic. I thought her overall arc, you know, dealing with, you know, the loss of her sister again now, post Avengers, post Black Widow, post Hawkeye, you know, I thought that was really good. And learning the fact that, like, you know, she tired of her life, she's tired of the mundanity of just, you know, being a cookie cutter assassin, because, you know, she's leaving a trail of bodies that she feels massive amounts of guilt over, especially reflecting back to her past, which, you know, happens a bunch during this movie. And, you know, how she eventually wants to live up to, you know, Natasha's legacy and become something more, something inspirational. I feel like a lot of the characters in this movie on this team want that. You know, that's kind of like the whole common theme of, like, you know, they're fucked up, they're dealing with a lot, but they want to be better people, and they want to, you know, set an example, you know, for themselves. So I thought having Yelena be kind of, you know, the kind of like the leader towards that goal, you know, throughout the course of the story, I thought was great. And I thought Florence Pugh did an amazing performance. So we'll start off there. Seamus, what do you think of Yelena and Florence Pugh's performance?
Yeah, I like I said, I think it's smart to anchor the entire movie around Florence Pugh, and Florence Pugh is like one of the most underrated actors I think we have working today, because she is just always solid. I think she's one of those people that's gonna win an Oscar in like 20 years or 15 years, and you're gonna be like, wow, I can't believe she won it, but also like, yeah, that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, she's just been so good in everything I've seen her in, even stuff that's like I thought was gonna be bad, like that biopic on, you know, bringing up wrestling a little bit, Mikey, but that Paige biopic that she was in as Paige was like, she was so good in a movie that like arguably was not that good, but she made it better. You know what I mean? And it's shit like that is it's smart to center the movie around her, and I think Yelena had the strongest character work in this movie in terms of just like, it was a full arc that, you know, which is crazy that I have to give them points for doing a full character arc in a single movie, but like that's where we're at right now, and you know, it's a step in the right direction, but I hope they go even farther in these future movies. But yeah, Yelena should be the model for every main Marvel character for the rest of time, just because they had an idea with her, they had her start at a point that was building off of where she had come from in the past movies, and then they had her continue and then end at a point that felt like she had kind of not even like because that's the thing, she didn't even like resolve it, And that's what I think I love most about this movie, is that none of these characters really resolve that shitty feeling that they feel. And they don't really come to any kind of conclusion that's like, this will fix it or this will help it. They just kind of realize that, like, yeah, if I'm with people that I kind of care about, like, it does make shit easier.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's a really mature and, like, smart way of wording, like, friendship can make you do anything. You know what I mean? Like, they did it in such a nice and mature way that, like, you know, it centered on Yelena and her relationship with, you know, everyone on the team. It just made it such an enjoyable experience to watch her arc specifically. Because it was just like, yes, I'm seeing a character actually grow by an actor who actually gives a shit about this movie and is giving a good performance instead of just phoning it in, you know?
Yeah, man.
But yeah, she was like one of ended up being like, I think my favorite character.
I mean, for me, it's like, you know, I don't know about you, but like when I just seeing her arc, and especially like, you know, especially in the flashback moments that she has of her as a child, I was like, this kind of made the Black Widow pill go down a little bit easier, because I did like how because one of my favorite things about the Black Widow movie that I thought they touched on a bit was like how traumatic it was going through that program in the Red Room for a child, you know, being turned into an assassin against her will. So I like how they pushed on that with this movie involving like her arc, you know, not only just grieving her sister, but also, you know, grieving, you know, dealing with, you know, the bad things she's done in her past. You know, as a child in the Red Room, I thought that was great. I love her when she has a lot of good banter with everybody, but I feel like I loved her banter and her chemistry with David Harbour a lot, like as a father-daughter relationship. I thought it was really good. There was one moment towards the end where, like, literally she said, like, you know, how I it almost got me teary-eyed a little bit. I was like, when she saying how alone she was and how, like, you know, like how she just wanted to, like, you know, end it all. She doesn't feel the point of, like, you know, moving on after, like, you know, her sister died and everything about that, and then like how David Harbour kind of like grounded her back to reality and comforted her. I thought that was such a great moment. But yeah, man, I have nothing really else to say on Florence Pugh, man. She killed it. Like, she killed it, and, you know, she brought, you know, her A game with this role when she could have easily phoned it in, like you said. But yeah, man, Florence Pugh was great, and I'm actually really looking forward to seeing her. I hope she becomes one of the, like, you know, one of the tentpole characters going forward in the MCU, just like how Scarlett Johansson was, you know, kind of was as Black Widow, you know, before, you know, they gave her the boot. But yeah. So any thoughts on Florence? We'll move on to John. One of Wyatt Russell.
No. Florence fucking Pugh. I love her.
Yeah, who doesn't love Florence? We all love some Florence Pugh, man. She's great. But okay, listen. Talking about John Walker, right? I did not expect to like John Walker as much as I did in this movie. Knowing how he ended with Winter Soldier, like fucking Winter Soldier, and how much of a piece of shit he was, you know, and how kind of how annoying he was, you know, intentionally so. I mean, he was supposed to be written that way, but I was genuinely being like, like going seeing John's arc, and I thought, of course, when I was like, wow, I think I really like this character. Like, I'm like, wow,
I like him as he's still a dick. He's still like a shitty person.
He does not change.
And that's why I like him the most. And he's easily the most interesting MCU character they have right now, because his entire setup from Falcon and Winter Soldier and his entire character arc that he doesn't really have this movie is like, because he doesn't become a better person. He just becomes friends with people. And you know what I mean? And that's like so interesting to me. Like, this guy who is supposed to be Captain America, who is just so like fucking insane that he just is like constantly like just an asshole. And like, you know what I mean? And he can't not be an asshole, because at his core being, he is an asshole. But he still is on the side of the heroes. It's just so crazy to me. You know what I mean? That they have this dude who's just like a Punisher-esque character, but it's instead of the Punisher being like some midnight vigilante that like hides in the shadows, he was at one point the symbol of America.
He was a symbol of America.
Crazy dude who like beheaded a guy. And I've seen so many people defend him by being like, well, Steve killed people, well, still, Well,
No, 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 no,
they all
no,
kill
no.
people.
He
And it's like,
executed someone on live television.
He beheaded a surrendering dude live on TV with the symbol.
Of
You
America.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's evil.
And to make it even worse, he did it because he thought that man killed his best friend on Battlestar, but it wasn't even him. It was somebody else.
Exactly. And I see so many people going like, "Oh yeah, I totally like John Walker's on the right. I'm so the writing really like made him try to seem evil, but he's actually
You don't get it.
Like,
you're not getting it. You're not getting it.
It's like, no, he's not. He's supposed to be a dick and an asshole. And the whole point about this movie is that, hey, dicks and assholes can also have depression. It doesn't make them good people, but it definitely makes them people. You know what I mean? Just because they have depression and they struggle with all this shit doesn't make them good, but it's still something that they struggle with and something that is worth talking about. And I'm like, that is easily the most interesting and nuanced thing the MCU had done ever. Mm-hmm. And Wyatt Russell just does such a good job of portraying him as like this just loudmouth fuckhead that you're
man. Oh. Who thinks he knows better, who thinks he's a good leader, you know. The thing is, like, one of the things I loved about his character a lot is just like how, again, even though him being a dickhead is kind of a coping mechanism for what's going on, what's going on in his life, and that was really good. But also I just love the fact that, like, you know, his ego, like, that's the one thing that I thought they touched on in Falcon Winter Soldier, which they elaborated more on this, how detrimental this man's ego is to his own well-being and to everyone around him, because, like, literally, though, his ego's so fragile. Like, the moment someone mentions him being a discount Captain America or being like a bootleg Steve Rogers, he's immediately like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. Like, he literally, like, when he said that shit to Ghost, try to kill her. He's when Val said that to him, he almost pulled his pistol out before Winter Soldier told him to stop. Like,
that was dude. Him just instantly trying to pull. It's like, yeah, that is the type of insane like right wing shit that I would expect from fucking him. You know what I mean? I think like there is a certain level of watering down that they have done to U.S. Agent in the MCU just because they don't want to. The MCU is so scared to get into actual politics and portraying him as an actual like racist right winger, who U.S. Agent is supposed to be. Because U.S. Agent in the comics is supposed to be, hey, what if an actual dude from the 1940s was Captain America? You know what I mean? Like what if this actual dude who proudly hated black people and proudly hated women from the 1940s became Captain America, and that's why he's such an entertaining character in the comics, because it's always this asshole who just shows up like, oh yeah, I'm this big strong white dude, and everyone's like, dude, we will kill you.
We will kill you, bro.
Fuck you. Luke Cage's constantly trying to punch him in the throat, going like,
freaking Daredevil washed him in Zdarsky's run, you know?
Yeah, Zdarsky literally threw him in to be like, yeah, I want Daredevil to fucking kill this guy, which is great. But like, they don't go that far, and I think them not going that far is a perfect example of why people like that are like, oh, John Walker's actually a good guy, because they refuse to go that far to show him being that bad. And like, I don't want to say it, but like him being revealed to have a black wife, I was like, that kind of goes against John Walker's character, unless you're going to make him like J.D. Vance and make him have a non-white wife and still be a crazy racist, which would be definitely way more interesting and nuanced.
Yep.
But that's the thing. That's still what's holding me back with the MCU, is I'm wanting it to be something that it never will be. And John Walker is a perfect example of that, and I hope that eventually he will reach those heights and become that very interesting character that could actually stand on his own away from the MCU as like this is actually like a good example of solid character work. You know what I mean? But in this movie, I enjoyed him. He didn't have an arc, and that was my favorite part. He just was a dick the whole time.
He was a dick the whole time.
I just really want them to do more with him in the future, and I hope that, you know, he doesn't just get like washed in Endgame and he has some heroic sacrifice where he finally gets to be a hero, and then he does it and he dies, and then that's it. Because then it's like, that's not the point. That's not the point of his character.
I did like that, like, even though he's an asshole the whole time, but like you do kind of feel for him. You feel for him like most of the characters in this movie.
That's the thing. He's not entirely unsympathetic, but you're still like, this guy's still an asshole who needs to like learn. But like, I can at least sympathize with him, like his family leaving him, or like
His
him
family
like
leaving
not
him.
feeling good enough. You know
And
what
I
I
like-
mean? But like,
and
he's reasons why his family left him. He is a
Yeah,
dick.
that's what I was saying about his ego. Like I like the fact that like they kind of teased like in that flashback where like okay he was just being like he was just being like he was so down bad what happened to him in Falcon Winter Soldier that like he just wasn't paying attention to his family. But in reality he took it so much further than that to the point where like like he was such an absentee dad that his wife just left and took the kid with her. And like I like how like that it was a nail in the coffin with like he's not like a shitty guy, but you do feel for why he has an asshole coping mechanism because like he doesn't know instead of dealing with his problems, he's just gonna like just toughen up because that's what the government told him to do. Like when he trained as Captain America.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty good. It was pretty good.
I love him because like he's a guy who like instead of like learning and trying to change all of the deep-seated like societal things that have been drilled into him that are causing him a lot of negative stuff in his life, he just leans into it more. And I'm like, perfect. That's cool shit. That's such a great encapsulation of America. You know what I mean? Like instead of actually fixing any of the shit that we have wrong, people just get scared and then lean harder into it. And you're like, So these two characters, arguably the most solid in the movie. I'm sure we're gonna get to the other two that I think are the most solid, but I love it.
Yeah. Overall, Yelena and Walker are like these were the characters that I was like, they were pretty good. They were pretty good to watch. Even though the Yelena's my second favorite, Walker's like my third. There's one character in here that like they're safe for the end. They were my favorite, but like we'll get into that. But all right, so we'll move on to next set of characters is Red Guardian and Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, played by David Harbour and Sebastian Stan. So Red Guardian, just offer it. It's pretty simple. He was just a comedic relief. He was the butt of the joke. He was a lot of fun in this movie. Had a lot of jokes that were hilarious. But
I was gonna say he like comedic relief. All right, real quick. Let's take a little detour because this isn't a character thing. This is a thing overall I want to talk about. The comedy in this movie was so well done and so reserved that it was perfect. And Red Guardian, like you're about to probably talk about, perfect encapsulation of the balance between having solid jokes, being the comedic relief, but still having a character and still having an arc.
I was getting into that because
it's just because like we'll talk about it with Bucky too because Bucky has my favorite joke in the entire movie, but. It's the comedic balance in this movie is the most perfect it's ever been. It's better than anything because they've spent years chasing that Joss Whedon, James Gunn high of we can do this snarky comedy. I swear we can do it, and they just never have been able to do it.
They miss it.
You know what I mean? As much of a fucking asshole as Joss Whedon is, he can do that dialogue in his sleep so well, and it works.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
He does it in Buffy. Easy, like
that's what I'm saying. We're still chasing Buffy. They're still going like we can make something as snarky as Buffy and people will love it. And it's like, dude, that was like almost 30 years ago. Move the fuck on. Exactly. And this was the first movie that actually moved on. And I was like, whoa, the comedy is actually different and solid. Holy shit.
But yeah, I was saying that like even though he was, in my opinion, he was the comedic relief of this movie, but like he still had a good character arc where the point like he feels like he's lost a sense of purpose. He's trying to figure out, like, because he wants to be. He's like, again, it's more of that stuff from Black Widow where like he misses the heyday, he misses being admired, he misses being the hero. So he's just trying to figure himself out, like, and try, and try to take every opportunity he can to regain that sense of purpose again. I loved it a lot. And again, and also just him just also taking the opportunity to try to be a good father to Yelena, because Yelena didn't mention that, like when she was on her deep end, like Alexei, didn't like. She felt like Alexei pushed away, and but again, like but he was also dealing with the loss of Natasha his own way, But he regrets trying to not be there for each other like as a family. So I love that arc with Red Guardian a lot. But again, he was so funny in this. Like he was so funny and so sincere, and I really appreciated that a lot. Also like the fact that like how do you feel that they're called the Thunderbolts mostly as like a name that Alexei gives them as a nod to Yelena's childhood soccer team. Like, what do you think of that?
I think it's fine. It's fine if it wasn't coming out 2 months after the Thunderbolt Ross movie.
Yeah.
Like if this was completely divorced and we hadn't seen Thunderbolt Ross since 2016, I would be like, yeah, sure, that's fine. But like the fact that they just spent all that effort recasting Thunderbolt Ross in a movie that came out 2 months prior, and then this is the same name but completely different. It's like, that's a little, come on, like.
Yeah.
I will say I did like the joke around not remembering exactly who the sponsor of the team was, and I was like, all right, that's getting me a little bit. That's at least making me chuckle.
Yeah. But yeah, Red Guardian I thought was good. Sebastian Stan, Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier, I thought he was good too. I like him being a congressman in this, a shitty congressman at that. I thought that was funny. And it's such an interesting arc because like he's even though it kind of makes sense for him to try to do politics, he's not suited for politics. He's a soldier. He's a hero.
It's another like illustration of how lost all these characters are by having Bucky like get into something that he never liked, he never enjoyed, but like he thinks that it's the only way he can like honor Steve's legacy is by like politically changing stuff. And he like almost instantly realizes he's like, that's not me. That's not who I am. I gotta honor Steve in my own way. And as soon as he picks his own way to honor Steve is when he instantly becomes like this actually solid leader in everything. And his arc in this movie isn't really like an arc. It's more of just him finally realizing like, yeah, maybe I should just lock in and like lead a team. Like I know I've been pushing away and denying it because of it, but like maybe I should just like do it. And then he fucking just does it, and you're like, fuck yeah, that's sick as hell. And I was gonna say he has my favorite joke in this movie because
what was it again? Just remind me.
The joke when they are in the void and he busts out, and they're like, they're like, are you okay? And Bucky's like, you know, my past is great, so I got nothing to say over here. And you're like, you know what I mean, like that kind of joke that I was like,
that killed me.
My God, where he's like, I have a great past, so I'm completely fine. It's like that is the perfect way for Bucky to just like, because it's a great joke, it's B, not undercutting a serious moment, and it's C, like illustrating that Bucky is like moved on from the Winter Soldier stuff. Like he's not haunted by it, he's not crazy, he's not like, whoa, that sucks. You know what I mean? He's just like, it is what it is.
Which I felt he achieved that at the end of Falcon Winter Soldier. Like what?
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, I'm glad we had that joke because that is a perfect. There's no meat on that. There's you know what I mean. It's just there's no fat on that. It's just a pure. It's a line that does so much for the character, does so much for the movie, and it's literally like just one sentence. And it's like, I love that. That's my favorite line in the MCU just because of how much work it's putting in. It's a load-bearing line for me. But yeah, his character, like that was all the arc I needed. And then after that, he just kind of locks in and becomes a leader, and it's really cool to see him like lead and do stuff that other superheroes won't. Like him and the Thunderbolts like actually retreat like near the end of the movie, and it's like, yo, that's smart as hell. I think other like teams that would be led by like other characters would have just been like, no, we have to beat him. But the Thunderbolts are like, no, we gotta think about a different way to beat this guy. Let's get the fuck out of here.
And the thing is, like, I love the fact, again, just brushing off of what we said earlier about like how we didn't think the roster made sense for what they were facing in this. And like, I love how they were completely self-aware of that, be like, yeah, we're not cut out for this at all. Like, all we do is like point and shoot and like punch things. Like that's all. That's it. Like, you know. So I do like the fact they acknowledge that. And that joke was hilarious. And I like how they didn't, like, especially when they go into the void, they didn't show any of this because it was mostly focusing on Yelena and her arc mostly because she's the emotional anchor of the film. But like, I like that they didn't have to go through anybody else's. Like, we know that they have shitty past and shit. Like, they don't have to reiterate that visually. They can just do that one-off joke and just move on. And I love that. I thought that was great.
Yeah. And then you see in like the room he came out of was like the Winter Soldier room, and they were doing all that stuff. You know what I mean? And you're like, I'm so glad. I just like the image of Bucky like it going into the void, instantly seeing that room and going, nah, and then just turning and punching a hole in the wall.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like he just enters, sees the room, and goes, "Yeah, I was there. What do you want me to say?" And then just turning around and going,
yeah, it's like I'm good. Just punch it, goes through. But yeah,
"Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like good. It's good shit."
but overall, yeah, both these characters good. Like good. So far, so good. Like no. So far, so good. So, next characters are and again, these I feel like like they were good, but like there could have been more done with them. Definitely one of them for sure. So the next set of characters is Ghost and Taskmaster, played by Hanna, John-Kamen, and Olga Kurylenko. I will say Taskmaster first off rip. I know we both talked about Taskmaster in the past before. Again, I'm in the minority when I said this. I didn't mind the change in Black Widow. I thought it was fine. And I was very curious on where they're gonna take it. I was very surprised, and I was a little upset that like they just killed Antonio off like that.
I was great. I was cheering. I was like, yo, I would prefer no adaptation of Taskmaster at all than this. I would prefer them. I would prefer don't be disrespecting my boy Tony like that ever again. Man,
listen, I get it, but then I'm just like, at least give her a little bit more before you kill her off, because we knew straight up she was gonna die. Like we knew straight up she was gonna die, because obviously like when they did the announcement for Doomsday, the cast for Doomsday, we didn't see a chair, so they kind of spoiled it for us already that like she was gonna die. But like for me personally, I was like, give me like 10 minutes of screen time at least, and then let me like care about it a little bit more, then kill her off, because I was like, I wanted to see what they were gonna do. But her dying though, I was like, fine, whatever, it's fine. But I was like, I was a little upset. I was a little butthurt. I was like, come on. But yeah, she just literally showed them 10 minutes, does some cool, even though her action scenes were dope. And so I'll say I'm not gonna deny that they were sick. That shit, the thing we did with the shield.
Yeah, but sick. That's not. That's all. They're sick. They're using Tony Master's bit. Okay, you're bit biting the bit biter king. Like.
But she's Taskmaster. That's what she does.
But I'm saying it's not sick because she's her own character and she's doing her own stuff. She's sick because she's doing Taskmaster stuff. And Taskmaster is inherently cool. It's just that his Tony Masters as a character himself is also cool, but they took that part away from it and just made it super generic. And it's like, oh, it's another Red Room cooking character. I don't need like my 8th Black Widow to replace my fucking prince from the Bronx, okay? My baby boy from the Bronx. Okay, you don't need to be replacing Tony Masters by giving me the 8th Russian lady played by an American lady who's also an assassin. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't care about Black Widow. Stop giving me it. I only care about Yelena now. Just only give me Yelena's kid.
Olga Kurylenko is an American.
No, the actress. Is the actress American?
No.
I thought she was like an American of Russian descent.
Oh no, I'm pretty sure she's like from Russia or from a Slavic country. She's from Ukraine. She's Ukrainian and French.
Well, who would have even known? Because they never take off their goddamn mask except for 2 times. Once in Black Widow and once here.
And once here. Yeah.
So who cares?
And it kind of was wild because like when she got capped, and then like the way like I was expecting Yelena to like have a little bit of acknowledgement, being like, because when she died, and she kind of like there was a comment where she made where she was like, oh yeah, no, like when Ghost asked how did you feel about that woman, and she's like, no, it's okay, she had a tough life. Like I thought that was a nice comment, but I was like, she's technically like kind of like your sister here in that, but I feel like you would have a little bit more empathy for that, for that death. But
dude, yeah, everyone was saying that, and I think everyone who's saying that, I'm sorry to paint you as this Mikey, but I think you're an idiot. Because Yelena is literally trained in a super secret spy organization to not have fucking feelings for anyone else in the field. You know what I mean? Like, she is literally trained at birth to be like, you cannot feel anything for these people working alongside you. So, like, it kind of makes sense that that's all she could muster for an emotion in the moment, because she was on the job, and that's what she was trained to do. And it's sad for her, but, like...
But granted, like, so in your context, that makes sense. But also, like, I felt like Natasha had more of an emotional connection to Taskmaster.
They didn't know how to write.
So that's why I felt like Yelena was fine,
Yeah, that's because they just didn't know. It's the nature of the MCU where they don't know how to write shit beforehand, and then they write it, and then they're like, oh, now that looks bad before, all that. But like, yeah, I'm glad Taskmaster's dead. If they never adapt Tony Masters, I'll be fine because now Taskmaster's legacy is completely. I don't have to hear about this false character anymore. But
again, she's dead. She's dead. A little like, when she died, I was like, it kind of hurts a little bit, but I was like, I wanted to see what they would do, but it's fine. Like, I'm moving on. But Ghost, real quick. Talk about Ghost. Vast improvement from Ant-Man and the Wasp, in my opinion. I thought she was fun in this movie. In terms of her dialogue, her banter with everybody else. I thought it was good. Her action scenes were dope too.
See, like, okay, here's the thing. I would say like vast improvement because I think she was the strongest part of Ant-Man and the Wasp because I think she was. It's an incredible extension in that the stuff that they built off of with Ant-Man and the Wasp in this. It makes her character like it's so much cooler, and it's all stuff that's in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but it's just turned up to 11 in this movie, which I really like. And I like the constant running bit of like she could constantly just walk away from the situation at any time, and every time she does, they're like, "Is she gonna actually do the?
Is she gonna come back?
Walk away?
Yeah."
And then every time she comes back, and she's like, "Why do you guys think I'm gonna constantly walk away?" And they're like, "Well, like it's
that's what you do
to the field." Yeah. And then she's like, "Well, I think about it, but I don't do it." And it's like it's shit like that I'm like, yeah, that's cute, that's nice, And I like I said, I like her arc a lot in this movie, and I think she's solid. She doesn't. It's not like a crazy standout, but like it's very solid shit.
It's like her arc as well as everybody else's. Well, like kind of like similar to John's, where like she has to learn to be less of an asshole to people.
Yeah.
And and I do like they're also running with the fact that like she can't really take off the suit because if she does, she'll like die. And it's like it's I thought that was funny as well. I thought again, I'm hoping in the future like they do something more substantial with the characters. Again, here I felt like she was there and like and she did her thing, and that was pretty much it. But again, now that they're a team now, I'm very curious to see like what more they're gonna do with their character, because it's weird. Isn't it weird for you that like Ghost is like a hero? Because in the comics they're not. Like, well, Ghost is a man in the comics, and he's literally like a brutal assassin that shows up and like murders people. So like it's a little weird. But again,
I'm okay with it. See, that's the thing. I'm okay with the changes they do with a lot of these characters in these movies, because
of course
they're serving a story that I enjoy and that I like. And I think the reason I didn't like Taskmaster is because they were changing a character I already enjoyed and a story I already liked into a story and character I didn't care about that also felt half-assed. You know what I mean? Like, it felt very half-assed to make her Red Room. It's all Red Room shit. She's related to Black Widow now, and it's like, I don't give a fuck about that. But like this changes they make to Sentry, which we'll talk about later, and Ghost for this movie, I was like, I'm totally okay with those changes, because like, all that shit is in service of the story that I'm really enjoying them telling, especially the Sentry stuff. The Sentry stuff they changed, which we'll talk about. I was like, I'm really on board with this.
Yeah, exactly. But overall, Ghost, that was good. Taskmaster just was there to die, but it is what it is. But yeah, I'm actually curious though. I wonder if there were actually plans for Taskmaster, like, but then they just Kevin Feige was like, nah, just changed it.
Yeah, there were, because originally the villain was John Walker.
Oh,
because originally the villain was originally, instead of Sentry, the villain was going to be John Walker, and Allegra was going to give him instead of she was going to say his super soldier serum was going to run out, so she was going to then instead just like Hulk him out and bomb him with gamma waves, and he was going to become A-Bomb. But they were like, oh, that's too close to Captain America. The world. So we have to do something else. So they're like, fuck it, let's use Sentry instead and make him the. And I'm like, I think Sentry's was the stronger.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about that. I'm just like, that's a weird choice to make.
Yeah.
Especially to do with John Walker, That's so strange. But yeah, all right. So moving on to next set of characters. So we're gonna move on to Val and Mel, played by Julia-Louise Dreyfuss and Geraldine Viswanathan. Val, off rip, I mean, Julia-Louise Dreyfuss, like, doing her thing. She kills it in this because she's pretty much like she's the overarching antagonist of this film. You know, she's the bad guy. You know, for the most part. You know, and she pretty much had a little bit of like, you know, she was had a little bit more Amanda Waller vibes in this movie. You know, again, I loved her trial. Like, I loved her impeachment trial, and the fact that she's like, she had, it's a little meta for what's going on now, but like, she was like, yeah, there's no way they're gonna impeach me because I got them all by the balls. Even though there were times where like they were close to, like, you know, getting when you know, she was covering up her messes with, you know, that's how the team, you know, gets together. Like, they're all contracted to go after each other by Val, and like, I love the fact that when they turned out to be alive, when that plan failed, she was like, holy shit, now they actually have stuff against me. Now she tried to, like, you know, cover her tracks even more. I like that. I loved, you know, her involvement with the Sentry program. That was really cool. And you see how devious woman is, how like she's more than willing to do whatever it takes for power. Like, I love that a lot. Yeah, I thought Val was great. Mel, as a character, like, was mostly a plot device. Again, she was the informant. She was an informant for Bucky, you know, trying to get the dirt on Val, because, you know,
I was gonna say, she's like a plot device, but like, you can tell this is like a real film because she's a plot device that still has a character arc.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, she is there entirely in service of the plot, but they were like, well, at least let's still have something happen with her instead of a person just standing around there to just spout information and then be like, okay, you know what I mean?
Bye.
Like, they were like, oh, let's have her at least like have a dilemma, like a kind of conflict, you know?
Yeah.
You know, like character writing 101. But like, we're at the point where that's what we need to see, you know?
I did like the fact that she was like, oh yeah, I work for you because I thought you would, you know, you genuinely cared about making a difference in the world, which she does, but she's willing to step on anyone she can in order to get there, and to harm people in order to get there, which was her moral dilemma, which I thought was pretty good. Also, I put the image of Songbird here because people think she's Songbird. I don't know if that's true or not. Because when I walked out of the movie, I was like, I wonder if like her character is gonna do anything, because like because Geraldine Viswanathan is like an up and coming like good actress. So I was like maybe, but then people saying Songbird because, you know, Mel and like Songbird name I think is Melanie or Melissa, and I was like, huh.
Here's the thing. It's like, even if she is, it's not gonna happen. Like,
yeah,
it's you know what I mean. It's like all these type of characters that showed up in the MCU in like the first and second phase, where they were like you know what I mean. Like when Batroc the Leaper showed up.
Okay, listen.
You know what I mean? And it was just a guy. It was just George St. Pierre, and they were like, well, he's Batroc, and you're like, yeah, he's got the colors on, but like that's not like, he's not in his suit, and he's just kind of doing like regular martial arts of Captain America. He's not leaping.
Listen to me. I still stand by this statement. He should have been in this movie. It would have been so much fun if he was just there to die.
Funny. It would have been funny if it was like the team was like Abomination, was Batroc, was like Bullseye.
I told you,
like
that was my choice. I wanted Batroc in the thing as like the comedic relief, meant to die, and then Abomination as like the heavy hitter. Like I would have loved that, but no, they didn't do that.
Yeah, that's what we've been saying. But I like what we got. But that idea that of like actually doing Thunderbolts is just more entertaining to me. But yeah, I like both these characters. Like you said, Julia-Louise Dreyfuss, she's such a great actress. She's just doing her character from Veep, but more evil.
That's what I heard. I've never seen Veep, but like that's what I heard most people saying. She's just doing Veep, but just like 10 times more crazy.
If you watch Veep, you'll be like, "Holy shit!" She really is doing the same character. But yeah, I didn't really like any of her cameos or inclusions in previous movies because she felt very out of place. But In this movie, she felt very in place, and I really liked her and her use in this movie. And this movie successfully turned her into an interesting character, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, I liked her flashback too, where they had her flashback where she's like, okay, now we understand why she is the way she is, why she's very power hungry, because obviously she lost her father. Also, she Italian? She Italian, right?
The character is, yeah. I was gonna say, I like how this movie, like I was talking about with John Walker, like they show that they're like, yeah, everyone's been through some shit, everyone's going through some shit. Doesn't make them a good person, but it is shit that everyone's going through, and it is shit that is hard for people. So like, if you can find people that you like, that make it a little easier, then that's a win. Which I like. I like that was the message. It's just more of like, yeah, well, you can't fix anything really. It's kind of hard to do that in like one day. It's kind of hard to like find answers, but like you can at least like feel good when you chill with the boys.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, I like these characters. They were solid.
Also, I just realized that like wasn't I think Ayo Edebiri was supposed to be Mel, but then it just didn't work out scheduling wise, so they got Geraldine instead.
Which was a solid replacement.
But all right, so moving on. So last character we're going to talk about, which I think is, as I said, they're my favorite character. I thought they did a great job translating him from the comics to the screen, and me and Shay were talking off camera, and it's like we genuinely enjoyed the changes that they made with him. But we're talking about obviously the GOAT, Bob, the Sentry, and the Void, played by Louis Pullman, who was originally supposed to be played by Steven Yeun. And then Robert Kirkman ruined that for him.
I don't know. He didn't ruin it for him. He didn't ruin it. Steven Yeun just chose to be in Mickey 17 over this, which I completely respect. I think it was the right move. He just said so many times that he was invincible that I was like, oh, they were really harping on that joke when it was Steven Yeun.
Mm-hmm. I just want to make that joke because I remember that. I remember when we did that podcast and you said, "Oh, breaking news! Freaking Robert Kirkman revealed that he was going to be Sentry." And I was like, "Oh shit, that's hilarious."
Isn't that great? He just dropped it on a live stream and was like, "Yeah, here he is."
But listen, man, I thought they did Bob. Bob was great. I thought he was great. And then another perfect example, just like Red Guardian, of just like balance of like comedy and also like serious and like emotional moments. I thought he was great. I thought the jokes were good. I also loved how he was one of the guys who like got at John's ego a lot, especially in the beginning when we didn't know who he was. Off rip. I thought that was great. Then when he called John an asshole, he's like you're supposed to be Captain America. They're like, yeah, what's Captain America? Yeah, but you're an asshole. And he's just like, yeah, I'm about to fight this dude. That was great. Again, loved how the change that they made, because Seamus, we've read Sentry comics, we know, even though I personally really do like the character, he's a bit confusing later on, especially like in Bendis's run of like New Avengers and all that stuff.
He's like my annoying cousin.
Yeah.
You're like I love him. He's my cousin, but like if someone comes up to me and they're like, yo, that guy's kind of annoying and like I don't really like him, I would be like, yeah, I understand. I'm not gonna argue with you. and Comic Sentry is just so weird. The way they introduced him was so weird. It like is funny for like a second, for like a joke, but then as soon as they started actively using him again, it was like, oh, this isn't like, no, don't do that. Don't.
And the thing is, right? No. Like, I personally really do love the Paul Jenkins, Jay Lee like initial like miniseries for the Sentry as like his debut, and that book is really meta, like a little too meta, right? And it kind of like that's where like it gets a little weird. So I'm happy that they changed that with this, and they took all that stuff out. They kept the core of the character, but took all that meta stuff out of it, where it's like, oh, like what if he was the first superhero and everyone forgot about him? Like I'm happy that he was just simply just another just an experiment due to just another guy who was experimented on due to the need for another super soldier via Val's thirst for power. I loved that change that they did. Loved how the fact when he was introduced and he was in that vault. He was sitting in hibernation in that vault, and like just left to like rot pretty much.
Yeah.
Because if people that don't know, there was the Sentry project, and he in this version of it, there was a medical. It was an experiment done by Val under OxCorp, which I forgot to mention that OxCorp, which is I guess a play on the Ox organization that she has in the comics, as well as Oscorp or whatever. But it was disguised as a medical study that Bob went to Malaysia, to be a part of, because he wanted to get better, because he suffers from mental illness. I loved the fact that he was a product of that. The fact that he was the only one left to survive. That was great. But again, I thought that was really good the way they interpreted, his mental illness, because he has a very he's very similar to Moon Knight in a way, where he also suffers from DID. I think he suffers from schizophrenia as well. Like, he hears, which again is kind of a way of like the Void is interpreted, like he can hear the voice of the Void in his head. That was really cool. And also the fact they said that he also has like it's not like DID where it's kind of like two personality. Like it's kind of noted that he's always had a darker side of himself due to the trauma he suffered from as a child. Like he said, he had his highs and lows, and the fact that the Void was a representation of his low aspect of himself. I thought that was great. But yeah, Shannon, what about you, man? What are your thoughts on Bob? Especially the changes. We'll go into the person. The way they interpret the personalities here in this, I thought was way more cohesive and way more easy to understand than it was in the comics. For sure.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like making the Void more of just a representation of like the lows that you hit when you're dealing with mental health issues, and like how it can be both a representation of depression or like a bipolar episode or anything like that, where like you just don't feel yourself and you feel like you're like a completely different being. You know what I mean? And I really like that they changed it from being like, because in the comics it's like so stupid, because like they're like, you think the Void is that, and you're like, oh wow, this guy's really struggling with himself and he doesn't trust himself, and then they do like they just do like the Hal Jordan parallax, where they're like, no, he actually is being possessed by like a space demon. That's so stupid, man.
It's wild, man. And
like it's like
and I thought it was really cool, like, because instead of doing like the schizophrenic stuff they do in the comics, they do more of, instead of schizophrenia and DID, it's more of like bipolar depression and DID instead. So I thought that was a good change, and I did like that. Yeah, like they pushed, they really executed the fact that like he's really genuinely fighting with himself, and I love that. I love that a lot in this. But also, I want to pick your brain a little bit. I saw someone talk about it in their review. How like in this version, again in the comics, like the Sentry and the Void are the Void, Bob, and Sentry are all three different personalities. In the comics. And again, they do, but granted, they do go all ham with the Void, where it's like, oh, he's actually a space demon that's possessing Bob, which is crazy. But I do like the fact that they kind of did the same thing here in this, where like like Bob. What at first I thought like Bob was just the Sentry, but but the Sentry's just a moniker. But now even in this, like they do it in a way too, where like Bob, the Sentry, and the Void. The Void are the Void and Bob were two separate entities before the experiments, in a way. But the moment Bob was experimented on, the Sentry personality, also emerged, because I don't know if you peeped in the notepad that Yelena picks up when she looks at the Sentry project, but you said that the moment that Bob got showcased his abilities during the Sentry project, it said that he noted that he started experiencing delusions of grandeur, which I feel like is represented here when he starts getting a god complex when he talks with Val after he washes the Thunderbolts, So
yeah.
I do kind of like the fact that it's like Bob and the Void did exist due to the trauma he experienced as a child, and incidentally they gave, you know, not just Bob, not only they gave the Void powers, you know, through the experience, but also like the Sentry persona is another persona created post the due to the Sentry project, and that he's Bob's like positive, more like great, more like wanting something. Again, more of the themes of the movie were like they want something more. Each character wants something more from themselves than what. So I thought that was a good way to take the character, you know, wise. You know, that was a good change.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, but what do you think of the scene, you know, of the first, like, it's the only action we get of like the Sentry, but like, you know, what do you think of that fight where he washes all of the Thunderbolts? Oh, that was crazy.
Yeah, that was fun. I thought the way that the Sentry's powers and the Void's powers were differentiated, and the way that their characters were differentiated was a welcome change from the comics, with the way that it actually served the story being about struggling with these issues and these issues overtaking you. But even when they overtake you, there are still people there to kind of help you carry that weight, and that you're not alone. And then they're not going to fix it for you, and they're not going to completely cure you, but like they're going to be there to help you. And that was a very, you know what I mean? And him being the personification of that really was a very solid choice to make him the villain, and you know, I really like that. The third act of this movie, where he is introduced and all that, it like works when I think about it separately, but when I experience the movie as a whole, I don't really know. It's hard for me to articulate, but like it just feels like it kind of drops into a different movie. Like the first two acts, you're watching one movie, and the third act, it feels like you're watching the end of the sequel to the first, you know what I mean, the first two acts. And it just felt a little off, and I felt like a little like, ooh, we kind of like jumped a little bit, and it devolved a little too much into your standard like Marvel finale. Even though the beats were there that I liked, it just felt a little like odd to me. But like,
I got you. I
still came away from it enjoying it. You know, like thinking about the scenes as they happen separately, like the Thunderbolts getting their ass kicked, and then the Thunderbolts saving everyone on the street, and then them going into the Void to save Bob. Like, all those separately work, but like when I was in the theater watching them, I don't know why I just had this feeling of just like, oh, this feels a little weirdly paced. I don't know what is needed or what needs to be changed, but like it just felt a little odd to me. I don't know why. But I think Bob as a character and Sentry and Void, all three of them working together as one personification of the story's themes, really worked for me.
Pretty much.
I like the changes. I like Lewis Pullman. He did a great job. I really liked him. I really did.
Yeah, and they changed a bunch, but they kept his core character in track. The fact that he was a drug addict, they acknowledged that. I even like with Lewis Pullman's performance as Bob. Like, I love his uneasiness. How like he was always on edge all the time. Like I love that aspect of it. They also do love the fact that, like, you know, Bob, again, what I said, the Sentry is when Bob feels that he's at his highest, you know, when he's at his most, that's why he's extremely powerful and why he can pretty much do anything. But then, like, when he's the Void, he's all-consuming, just dour, like literally the personification of Bob's worthlessness, his loneliness, and fact that the Void, and that's why the Void is all-consuming. You know why? Like that's pretty much how he is in the comics, because the Void's literally like a universe. He's literally a universe ender, because he's all consuming. The fact that he feels like everyone should feel the same way that should feel as worthless as he feels. I thought it was great. And yeah, man, the Void was Bob was my favorite character. Like I love the way they did Bob and the Sentry and the Void. And I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, and we'll talk about what we think, any theories on what we think of this character's future. But yeah, man. I think anything else you want to say on Bob before we move on?
No, I'm good.
No, sir. All right, so
now we're gonna Bob.
No, sirree, Bob.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna go into the best part of this podcast, the theory section. And you know, obviously the first theory that we got, we're talking about, you know, the post-credit scene here, where it is pretty much now we understand why the asterisk is there, we kind of, a lot of people were theorizing this. I think we talked about it also as well, Seamus. So it's revealed that yes, the reason why the asterisk is there is because it is the Thunderbolts is a working title in a sense, and for the actual movie and also for the team itself. And the movie ended pretty much with, Val being tied into a corner by the team and getting tricked into going to a press release and getting tricked into walking into a press release. With that, I thought that was very creative. Where she was backing into it was a scene where it looks like Val's cornered and that she has nowhere to go, and then she goes behind the drapes and it's an actual press conference revealing that this team that we see here, Red Guardian, Ghost, Yelena, John Walker, Winter Soldier, and Bob are in fact the new Avengers. And yeah, so this is the new Avengers, people. And at the same time, during the mid-credit scene, and also it hinted at it in the post-credit scene, but I want to add it here that Sam also is trying to get is getting copyright of the name because they don't think that they're the true Avengers. But yeah, man. So these are our new Avengers, baby. The 3 Captain America derivatives, and a Ghost, and a girl and a Black Widow, and Bob. So what do you think of this, Seamus? Because I immediately when I saw this, I was like, yeah, they're going Bendis new Avengers kind of vibes, I guess, but also at the same time doing another Avengers team to coexist with this team. Maybe
well, they're gonna be the new Avengers. Thor is gonna join fucking Sam, and they're gonna be Mighty Avengers.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
It's in the comics. I'm gonna be
yeah.
But I'm gonna be like, it's from the comics. But then I'm gonna have to look at RDJ Doom's face. So I'm gonna kill myself in that movie. I think if you told me this before the movie, I would have been like, that sucks. But I think after the movie, I liked it. I did. Yeah. Because I think it was entirely due to that scene where they're all just trying to save people. And I was like, wow, that's such like a classic like Avengers coming together moment. You know what I mean? Like that is like, I can hear the narration from Earth's Mightiest Heroes where they're like, and then on a day unlike any other, and you're like, yeah, you know what I mean? And that's when I was like, okay. And in storyline, I liked how it was used as like a cover by Allegra to be like, because it felt very Ultimates. The fact it was all a in-house issue that they had to clean up, but exactly. Allegra PR parried it to being like yes, look, my new Avengers have saved everyone, and then Bucky kind of realizing, like everyone realizing that they're being used, but also realizing that they can in turn use Allegra to actually be like somewhat, to be functional Avengers.
Yeah. It's where it's like, they're being used, but also at the same time, like this is an opportunity for them to actually like, do better and to actually like, which I loved,
And it sucks. I understand why Sam's mad, but also like, there's no team, bro. There hasn't been a team in 5 years. There's no Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you gonna do? Like, So yeah, I did like it in the end. I think I did enjoy it. It was a funny little after credit scene. The end credit scene was more interesting than the mid credit scene.
Yeah, but I did feel like it was really cool, the fact that like, it just like, if the fact that like, even though I do think the roster just calling these guys the new Avengers with the roster is still weird, but the fact that like just seeing the journey that they went through as characters and the fact they give them such great arcs to make me care about these characters, I was like, you know what? I'm fine with them being the new Avengers. Like I'm cool with it, Still weird, but I'm cool with it. But yeah, it's pretty much like it's just gonna be 2 separate teams. The new Avengers here, and the Mighty Avengers, which is pretty much I'm hoping is gonna be like Sam, Thor, Shuri is Black Panther, Shang-Chi. I want to see She-Hulk again because again, got a little.
And then it's probably gonna be Kate Bishop probably.
Kate Bishop, Miss Marvel.
So that way. Then when they fight, Yelena can say Kate Bishop a bunch again.
Yeah,
and they can still fight, and you know what I mean. And you can get that cute little like, they're all friends, but they're fighting because RDJ's there. Fuck him.
Do you think that this kind of kills the idea of them doing Young Avengers? Because again, those characters they've been setting up for a while.
They're gonna do Young Avengers for like 0.5 seconds in Avengers Doomsday just to get everyone to shut the fuck up about it, just to get all those weird like Stan freaks to shut the fuck up, and then they're never gonna do it again.
I think
They're gonna be like, oh look, it's Ironheart and Wiccan and Miss Marvel, and everyone's gonna be like, we do not give a fuck, dude. You just showed me Nightcrawler from X-Men's coming back. I do not give a fuck about Wiccan anymore. I don't have to pretend to like these guys. I can go back to like liking actual characters like Nightcrawler.
Again, I'm a Young Avengers fan, but I don't know what they're doing with that.
No, you're not. No, you're fucking not.
What?
No,
yeah, the original OG ones. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a fan of like 6 issues. Like, get out of here.
I literally got I got the 2 trays right over there, like up my shelf.
And you're admitting that on camera?
Yes.
You're admitting you own the Children's Crusade?
Yes, I do.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Man. Alan Heinberg killed it. I don't care what anyone says. But all right. So the next theory over here is again more Sentry stuff. So, what do you think Bob's future is in the MCU going forward? Because right now, Bob is remaining as Bob because he's acknowledging if he becomes a Sentry again, potentially the Void could also come back and consume stuff again. So, he's just Bob for right now. So, what do you think his plans are going forward in the MCU? He's probably gonna be a crutch in Doomsday.
They're jobbing him out to Doom is what they're doing. They're gonna job him out to Doom. They're jobbing him. He's gonna be a local jobber. They're feeding him to John Cena to make his title reign stronger. You know what I mean? Shit like that. Where like they're building him up to be like, whoa, this guy, he's unstoppable. So that way when Doom shows up, they can easily feed him and make all like the really stupid casual viewers go, well, he was strong and Doom beat him, so Doom must be really strong. You know what I mean? Like stupid shit like that instead of coming up with an actual story.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna be a crutch in some way. He's gonna be like, oh, like now it's like that. It's like the moment when Captain Marvel showed up in Endgame to like mess shit up. Like, you know, as like, you know, the heavy hitter just arrived. It's gonna be the same thing with Bob. Like, Bob's gonna show up as a Sentry and start like, you know, leveling the playing field, you know, against Doom and all that stuff. Yeah, it's just I'm just, you know, that's pretty much it. He's going to be the crutch to make or that's gonna make or break, you know, them winning or not. So
yeah. Well, no, he's not. Not even that. Like he's gonna get washed immediately, and then they're gonna do like Battle World, and then the actual crutch is gonna be like fucking like Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man, like Deadpool and like Wolverine, and they're gonna be like, oh, you guys like these guys, right? They're actually the crutches, and you're gonna be like, oh, I'm tired, man. I don't want to watch this anymore.
Yeah, well, I think how I would do it, like have him be the Sentry, for the Sentry in Doomsday.
I'm gonna stop you right now, and I'm gonna say this is gonna be cooler than whatever they come up with. So I'm already disappointed.
I know, but like it just, I appreciate you for that. But I feel like it would make sense, you know, just to have him show up as a Sentry, be formidable, but then lose to Doom, and then like. But in Secret War, have him show up as the Void at the end, and then like and we'll get like the true Void where like he just wrecks everything, like you know how he does in the comics, you know, like it has to take Bob to embrace his darkness in order to save everybody, you know.
Yeah, and he loses so bad to Doom, and they do the kind of Hulk storyline that they did in between Infinity War and Endgame, but instead of him becoming Professor Hulk and becoming a joke, instead now the Void is like a country in Battleworld, and it's just an entire area that's taken up by Bob, who's sitting there just ruminating on the idea that even though he was supposed to be the most powerful, he still lost, and that he's a failure. You know what I mean? And he just lets the Void take over him because he doesn't really want to live anymore. So then a storyline could be a certain number of characters who you want to explore their backstories going into the Void to save Bob again.
The Void being a section of Battleworld would be freaking awesome. Like I would love that.
They're not gonna do it. RDJ Doom's gonna fucking kill him, and then we're gonna get fucking 80 years of Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
Yeah, because going off of the ending of like the third act of this movie, like literally it took Bob who thought he was saving everybody by facing his fears against the Void, but that's what the Void wanted. The Void wanted him to to wanted his rage to consume him. So like, what if him losing allows the void to consume him, and it becomes a whole world of Battle World, and they have to remind Bob about that he's not in it alone. And that'd be great. They won't do it, but it would be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So obviously, just to move on from that, I mean, do you have anything else to say on any Bob theories, or are you good?
No, I just gave the coolest Bob theory you could do in the MCU.
We both did, and they're not gonna do it.
They're not gonna do either.
But yeah, so pretty much the end credit scene is now the new Avengers. I think it took place 14 months later, and it sucks because it would be kind of cool to see them actually be a team doing missions and stuff, but they gotta cut it because they gotta do the reveal. But and I wish I would have liked to see more of them actually be a team, post defeating Sentry and all that. But I don't know if we'll get it. But pretty much it's the setup of them, going into the Avengers Tower, talking, doing R&R, being a team. Also, they got new outfits, more unified outfits, which I thought was really cool. New logo as well. That was really awesome.
Yeah, I liked all their new fits they had at the end there.
Has that logo been used in the comics? It looked mad familiar, but I couldn't pinpoint where, in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just making sure. But yeah,
which one did you say? Which one did you say?
No, I said the logo, the logo, the new logo that they got.
Oh, that Avengers. I was gonna say the same thing. I have a vague memory of it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, like that A. I was I feel like I've seen it somewhere, but I couldn't pinpoint where it was. Yeah, they get new outfits, they get a new logo, they get the new Avengers Tower, and they get a broadcast coming from space. And Yelena asks for a full satellite image of it, and turns out it appears to be the rocket ship that has the Fantastic Four logo on it. So it's pretty much the Fantastic Four arriving into the main MCU universe. So it's pretty much a setup for Fantastic Four, and that's pretty much it. So Seamus, give me your thoughts, bro. What do you think of this post-credit scene?
I know it. We
all knew
Fantastic Four coming to the main universe was about as assured as Taskmaster dying. We all knew it was going to happen. I don't know why anyone's acting shocked and appalled that they spoiled the movie. We all knew. We're not dumb. So yeah, I'm not. It was cool. Like I said, allegedly it was that was directed by the Russos, and it's from the set of Doomsday.
Oh, that quick?
That Mikey. Doomsday's next May.
No, I meant filming wise, they filmed that scene that fast.
They've been filming for about a month or so now.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that was, they probably filmed that right at the start and then just added it in. But
I know that the movie's come out next year, but I didn't think they would have something pushed out for a post-credit scene for Thunderbolts that fast. So.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Marvel's more focused about being a factory than movie making, so makes sense. But yeah, I like the designs. It looked solid. It's kind of hard to judge Doomsday off just that clip, but
yeah,
I liked it. It looked fine. I hate RDJ Doom. I hate RDJ Doom.
I saw someone online saying a video saying that they said their theory is that that it's not. It was wild. I thought it was kind of dumb, but they said it was it's not the Fantastic Four in there. It's actually Doom, and I was explain though, how. I was it's actually he ends up going onto the ship, and that's how he gets into the main universe or whatever. I'm just I kind of don't like that. No.
But yeah, that's also the thing. Dude was powerful enough that he could just do that himself, and also that person has obviously never read a comic in their life, because when the hell would Doom ever even think about using a piece of machinery with Reed's logo on it?
True.
He would rather die.
He'd rather die
than be caught on a Fantastic Four branded rocket. He would rather kill himself. So like no, that's not. And if they do that, then I'm already so mad.
Mm-hmm. But okay, but here's a question I don't want to bring up though. So, do you think that that the reason why they're leaving is because Galactus succeeds in destroying in eating their planet at the end of the movie, or do you think it's an incursion that happens and their world just gets straight up like incursion and destroyed that way? Because again, Doctor Strange teased incursions happening. So
both.
Okay.
I think Galactus is in the process of eating their world, and they think that they are. They think they finally get him to like maybe stop or you know what I mean, or do that, and then an incursion happens, and then you could just do the reveal that like that Galactus, because you know there's only one Galactus in the multiverse. They could just keep that going, and then they could just say that Galactus has been acting in the same capacity as the Illuminati was, and Galactus eating Earths in alternate universe has been him actually. Galactus is a good guy who's trying to prevent incursions.
Even stopping incursions from happening.
Yeah,
I do like that.
And since they stopped him from eating this Earth, the incursion happens anyway, and Galactus is like actually going to be like a helpful good guy who's like, no, I have to help you get to the other universe because you have to live on because you're you know what I mean, like like you have to take this message to the Prime Universe, and then Galactus like goes off to try to save other universes. I think that could be a cool change. I would enjoy that. I would be like, oh, that's kind of cool.
And it would make sense because you're right, like it was a nice reminder that you said that, because there's only one Galactus in the multiverse, so like it just, you know, that would make sense, you know. I would really
Hickman, speaking of a Fantastic Four writer, Hickman used that to great effect in the Ultimate Universe, so I would like to see that continued in this, because that was cool. But like, I think that would be probably the coolest way to do it, and that would be the way that I enjoy the most. You know?
Yeah.
And it would be a very cool twist to be like, well, that when Silver Surfer comes to say that this planet's marked for death, it's not marked for death because Galactus is coming. It's marked for death because there's an incursion and Galactus is coming to try to stop the whole universe from getting torn apart.
Yeah, I like that.
You know what I mean?
And if that's the case,
it would be a cool twist that I would be like, wow, that's a cool way to like redo Galactus in an interesting way that fits with the story you're telling.
And then to add on to that and say the incursion happens, and later on in the future, Galactus comes back to like the MCU universe, because again he's multiverse, so he can show up anywhere. And like then he, you know, recruits Norrin Rad as his Silver Surfer in this universe in the MCU, and then people can stop bitching about their gender bending. So, you know. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. Cool post credit scene. You know, Fantastic Four. It's coming. You know, that's like 2 months away. It's coming really soon. So.
Yeah.
But
you got Superman first though.
Mikey. But all right, Seamus. So about that time. So what are your final verdict, final thoughts, and what would you give Fantastic Four? No, sorry, Thunderbolts. Sorry, the New Avengers. The New Avengers. That's what it's called now. That's what it's called now. They changed all the posters.
It is.
What would you give the New Avengers out of 10, bud?
I would say that it is a. I would say it's like an 8. I would say it's like an 8, maybe 7.5, 8. But it's a 7.5, 8 with like a gold star of approval. You know what I mean? Like other Marvel movies, I might have rated 7 and an 8 or a 9 or something, but those were 7, 8s, 9s for Marvel movies. But this is like a 7 and an 8 with like 7 and an 8 as an actual movie. Like, you know, so like it's on another tier of ranking.
For sure. I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same boat as you. I was saying 7.5, 8. Like, this is. Like it's a pretty solid, pretty good movie. Like, and again, it doesn't feel like a typical MCU movie that we've got in the past. And I think it's also because of like, I feel like this is one of like the newer projects, like now involved, like post like Bob Iger and Kevin Feige coming, like Bob Iger coming back and him giving Feige more creative control, because I felt like Cap 4 was the tail end of like the Bob Chapek stuff, you know. So
yeah.
You know, again, more focusing on, well, Chapek was more quantity over quality. Iger and Feige are more quality over quantity. So,
I still don't trust anyone to do anything with X-Men after Doomsday. So like, I don't care.
And that's
like,
the thing, right? Like, it's you heard about the rumors that Jake Schreier's like is eyed to be like directing the X-Men, you know, going forward. I don't know if you saw that. You see that? You didn't see that?
Yeah, I saw that. As much as I liked him in this movie, I just don't know if he's compelling enough to really make me excited for a new line of X-Men. You know what I mean? Like, to get me excited for a new line of X-Men, you would have to get someone who I would think would be impossible for Marvel to get, and that person would have to be like all in on doing X-Men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you would have to get like a crazy name that I don't know who, but someone like I can't even think of a name that would be realistic, but also like a dream. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't think anyone actually wants to work on this shit that would be talented enough to really like kind of nail it. So like, they would have to get someone who currently doesn't really exist, or someone who I could have a completely different idea of who they are. you know, like
true. But yeah, no, overall this movie was good. Good performances, great writing. Again, iffy third act, but you know, I feel like, you know, like character wise they stuck the landing. And I'm very excited to like, you know, see the team moving forward. But will we see like the team in their own? Will we get a Thunderbolt sequel? No, they're not doing it. Which is unfortunate.
Thunderbolt sequel is Avengers, technically.
Yeah. But no, but I mean like a whole separate movie with this team. No, like that's not happening.
No, they never even said this is like kind of because this is the way they got around them saying we're not actually doing any Avengers movies unless they're like event ones, like Doomsday or whatever.
Yeah,
they got around that thing that they said by naming this Thunderbolts and then revealing it was New Avengers at the end.
Yeah.
So like, no, I mean I don't know if that's gonna change after Secret War, but like, after Secret War, the whole universe is going to look different. So like, none of this really, none of this really matters. All this stuff is just like, is this stuff good? That's why I keep talking. Is like, is this stuff good enough to make me check out Secret War? And so far, this one is. And if Fantastic Four is good, then yes, I'll check out Doomsday. But like, if Fantastic Four, if the only way I could see Fantastic Four fumbling at the 1 yard line would be like a very hefty RDJ Doom storyline in that movie. If that happens, then like, yes, I'm officially tapping. That's it. I'm killing myself in front of everyone in the theater. But like, I don't see that happening. So I think I'm gonna like it. I think I'm gonna watch Doomsday, and then we can go from there and judge it based off that. I'm definitely seeing Spider-Man. I'm just interested to see what they cook up there. What they're gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, because I guess they still have the Destin Daniel Cretton directing that.
Mm-hmm, he's still attached.
They got the choreographer from this to do it, I guess, too, in Shang-Chi. Working together, so that's cool. Allegedly, Mr. Negative's a villain. I fuck with Mr. Negative.
I heard because you saw the casting, like the casting post, right? Like they want someone, an Asian guy, and he's like his 30s or 40s. I'm like, Mr. Negative, that'd be dope if they did that.
I mean, that's Mr. Negative. Unless we're getting a really cool Asian Norman Osborn. Daniel Day Kim Norman Osborn?
Daniel Day Kim Norman Osborn would be tough.
Kinda goes hard. Anyway, that's never happening. Marvel's not cool enough to do any of that. Let's just.
Who would you want to play Mr. Negative though? Real talk.
Mr. Negative?
I actually want to know this.
Wait, is he? Because they change him every time. He's Korean, right?
I thought he's Chinese.
Is he Chinese?
Yeah.
I'm looking it up. So that way I can properly. I think he is Chinese. He is Chinese. Okay. Dan Slott said he's Chinese. Yeah. Gosh.
Actually, no. We'll talk about off camera because we gotta end this thing.
Donnie Yen.
I was thinking Donnie Yen, but I was like, yeah.
Donnie Yen. It'd be cool. Okay, if we're gonna have a guy who knows kung fu to go up against Spider-Man, Donnie Yen is like, of course, the obvious choice.
Yeah.
Big, insane get Jackie Chan.
Mr.
Negative.
Wild.
Punching the shit out of Tom Holland.
That'd be wild.
We're getting the weirdest Karate Kid reboot.
But yeah, overall, people watch this movie. We gets the indie corner seal of approval. Like we feel like it's a record. We definitely, if you got to see this movie, it's good, and it's gonna. We'll see where it goes from here in terms of the MCU. But again, this is a good step in the right direction, and it gets me. I get more excited for Fantastic Four and Doomsday. We'll see. But all right, people. Yep. So just close it off. Thanks to everyone who are watching this. We'll watch this. We appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel. And click the notification bell so we get notified on when we drop new content. And just a quick little shameless plugs, because again, we've been dropping stuff a lot lately because there's stuff coming out a lot lately. But yeah, so check out our Sinners review that we did, that I had me, myself, Colby. Shout out to Colby. Shout out to Big Mike as well, and shout out to Keith Cross, who was on there as well. That was a good review. Check out the clip that we just dropped talking about Ryan Coogler. Check out the Daredevil review. Check out the Devil May Cry review. Check out some of the clips that we've done. Check out the other After Darks we've done. Check out. You good there, Seamus?
What happens every time I get on RDJ to watch that stream? They try to get me.
Yeah, man. Marvel keeps clocking you on that. They don't want no RDJ slander.
Every time I sit too much on RDJ, they get me.
Yeah, but I was telling them, check out the Sinners review, check out the Daredevil review, check out the Devil May Cry review that we did, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Check out some of the one and dones we've done. Check out the Alex Cormack interview that we did. Check out some of the shorts that we've dropped as well recently. That's been a lot of fun. And check out all our other past series that we've done on the channel. Again, there's a lot more content on there. Just want to quickly just announce real quick. I did a little bit of rebranding, so like obviously the channel is called the Indie Corner Presents for a while. Changed it to the Indie Corner Podcast now because that just made more sense. So now we're officially the Indie Corner Podcast now. But also as well, there's gonna be some new videos in the pipeline coming forward. I'm gonna just drop this here. Just a quick little announcement. Let me see if I can bring it up. But I'm gonna announce our next interview because I'm prepping for the interview right now because I gotta read their book, just before we do anything. But our next interview is going to be with our boy Keith Cross, actually. So the artist Keith Cross that we just had on the review for Sinners. He is going to be our next interviewee, just to keep the Sinner vibes going, because he does a book called Day Black, and that is pretty much a black vampire book. So just wanted to just drop this thumbnail real quick. Yeah, so he's going to be our next guest on Indie Corner Off panel when we get that interview squared away soon. So and there might be more interviews coming up too. We never know. There's some. I've always felt I know people, so like I could just bring them on. So But yeah, so be on the lookout for that. And as always, people, we love y'all. If you've watched Thunderbolts, let us know in the comments what you thought about it. If you liked it, didn't like it, love to hear it. And we'll catch you later. All right, peace.
Peace.